That's priceless. I mean, for everybody to see the joy on your face. I mean, that must have brought back good memories. So let me officially start by firstly welcoming Dwight Yorke, one of our national heroes, one of our national legends, captain of the
Uh,
2016, former Manchester United player, Aston Villa player, Birmingham City player, to name a few clubs. So Dwight, on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, welcome. Please say a few words.
yeah, it's obviously first to begin with my apologies for getting the time zone totally different. Being in England, being here in Dubai, I often get a little bit sidetracked. So my apologies on behalf of everyone there for holding up the actual the actual Zoom call today. So let me begin by saying it's a great honor to have this conversation with the young people of our future in our football of Trinidad and Tobago. So it gives me great pleasure to have this conversation, to look back on some fun memories. Certainly, looking at the clips of the Signal Hill days really brought a huge smile to my face, of course. And I'm looking forward to interacting with some of these young players, boys and girls, here today. Something that I've been longing for a long time to have these interactions to see where some of these kids are, where they are in terms of their mindset, how to not just represent Trinidad and Tobago, but to try and make a future in the game going forward. And yeah, anything I can do to help these young boys and girls in terms of giving them a guideline on what it needs to really make it at the very top, because to get to the top, it's very challenging. It's not going to be easy. And I certainly a product of that in terms of where I come from, where I've ended up today. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of determination getting there. Of course, I needed a little bit of luck along the way. But most of it, it's down to a lot of hard work and self-belief and confidence and sacrifice. Ultimately, you have to make those sacrifices. So I'm looking forward to interacting with everybody here that is involved in this conversation, and hopefully that I will make an impact that will lead some of these boys and girls for greatness ahead of them.
Hey, thank you very much, Dwight. Dwight, and let me also let you know that in the audience, so to speak, we have the members of the technical staff and the members of
Mm-hmm.
the national under 15, under 17, and under 20 boys and male and female. So along
Okay,
with some invited guests, and of course Sean Quintus, the media officer for the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. So Dwight, I'm going to start you off with the first question. I'm only going to give you just three well, I hope it's just three easy questions, and then we're gonna have open the floor up so that the young lads and laddises can ask you a few questions themselves. So Dwight,
sure.
can you tell us? I mean, and that smile that you had when that video was playing just now, I think it's priceless. It's priceless. I mean, Dwight, when you score goals, you smile, but that was very genuine, and I was like, can we just let him smile and watch himself on the video? So Dwight, can you give us a little insight in terms of your journey? How did it start for you? How did the journey start from how did it start and how did it take you all the way through? Can you talk a little bit about your journey?
Well, I mean, it depends on how long you have, because it's been some journey in terms of making it all the way to Manchester United Football Club. Just so I don't know, these kids, if they have any insight, they might have heard the name, they might have had some kind of idea who I am, but not really see me in the flesh or know what I've been through to get to the top. But obviously, I was born in Tobago, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, of course, and the fact that I grew up in a family of nine. We lived in a small house, a two-bedroom house at the time. So I have five other brothers and three sisters, so nine of us in total. So I was very lucky to grow up in a very huge family back then, and then of course having five siblings, older siblings. I had one younger brother. Sorry, they're the ones who sort of kind of guide me. They were into the sports. They were very active household, as you could imagine. My brothers and sisters, they all played a little bit of football, a little bit of netball, a little bit of cricket. And so as a young boy growing up in that sort of environment, it was very easy at the time to get involved because that's all we knew, and as you know, football is very streetwise, so to speak. You don't need a lot of equipment, i.e. when you play cricket, you need, batters and bowlers and all that kind of stuff. Football, you just need a ball and you just go, kick around with everybody else who's involved. So that's how it really kind of started. And at the very tender age of 6, I got involved. I think, no, not think, Burgess Sinclair, obviously the one that sort of started his coaching school. And I went to the primary school of Bonaccord government at the time. So again, that was a school that was very active in sports. So I get it, I came to a family who was very sport orientated. So it was easy for me to get into sports, so to speak. And pretty much I was very obsessed with football from the age of 6, really. Now, not knowing exactly where I was going to go or head to, I just enjoyed playing the sports, and I got better at it because I got obsessed with the game, and pretty much, I sort of worked my way up quite a lot from a very young age and getting better and just being obsessive. I just remember being very, very obsessive with football. And just playing. And so I was very lucky in that sense that I had siblings, people around me, and everybody who can play the game. And I just got involved at a very tender age.
Thank you very much, Dwight. So Dwight, the next question, you talk about being obsessed. What part did discipline play in you making it? What part of discipline? How did discipline play a part in your life, in your life in football?
Well, discipline is a huge part of any successful sportsman. If you don't have discipline, it's always going to be challenging for you. And I think that's something that separates me from a lot of players or a lot of talented people, as you know. Not so much the younger players that I'm talking to or the players and the girls that I'm addressing today. But back in the days, we had a lot of talented players. You call the names before they were a huge amount of talent. But in my take, when it comes to discipline, I wanted to be different. I wanted to do something totally different. I didn't just want to be another guy who had potential, because in my time of growing up in Tobago and Trinidad, I seen so many potentials around the place. So to have that discipline and separate yourself was a key factor in my success, without a doubt. Without discipline, and like you said, there is very little future for you. So this discipline is very, very essential, very important for any of these young boys and girls that I'm talking to today, that if you don't have discipline, then the challenge ahead is going to be even greater. So discipline is crucial in my opinion.
That's excellent, Dwight, and that's very, very well explained. My last question for you, Dwight, would be, how was the experience playing for international clubs? How did that help you in terms of playing for the national team?
So well,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Just like in terms of, that's all right. Just in terms of playing with some of the best players in the clubs, how did that help you at the World Cup level?
Well, I mean, like as I said, we probably get into it a little bit later on in the conversation. I mean, I went to England at 17. As maybe some of these kids don't know, but I already represent Trinidad and Tobago at 16 at the senior level, not just the juniors. I played at all level, at juniors level as well. But to represent the national team at 16, for some of these kids probably don't even know it or seen it. I mean, the strike squad in '89, I was, part of that team. So I was involved in football from a very, very young age and playing against men really, twice my age, So having that transition from college football to representing my country at youth level, then onto the senior team, then on my way to Aston Villa, where really and truly, although I had, I said basic skills, but knowledge in the game, And then once I become a professional at 17 at Aston Villa, it's a total new ball game. Professionalism is something that I never knew about. What's professionalism coming from Trinidad and Tobago? That never really exists. I was just representing, Trinidad and Tobago at international level, let alone professional level. So a professional level is totally different. It's your livelihood. You're talking about life skills, being on time, i.e. I was late today. That is a fine if I was late, if I didn't turn up for training, the kind of consequences that you will face. So the transition from coming from Trinidad into professional life was something totally different, something that I wasn't used to. I didn't know anything about it, and nobody could have given me any guidance what professionalism was. So the transition was something very new to me. The people going to England, the weather, being 16, 13, 17 on my own in a foreign country, no friends, no family, new environment. It was very challenging, but something that I wanted to do. And so I was developing nicely. So that transition from coming back home from playing in England to Trinidad and Tobago football was very easy for me because, I was an example. I was faster, I was fitter, I was stronger than most of these guys because I was playing football and developing at a level that no other person in Trinidad and Tobago really experienced. So that was different to me.
Okay, thank you very much. And Dwight, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and because the kids have some questions for you. So Sean, you can take over.
Hi, Dwight. Good afternoon.
Hey, Sean.
Guys, I know you've been waiting, very anxious to get a chance to interact with Dwight, and the opportunity is here now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take questions. Obviously, those of you who are familiar with Zoom, you know how to go ahead. But we can't have everybody asking a lot of questions at the same time. We have 80 plus participants in the chat. So just send a message in the chat, and you will see, myself and Yale will see who wants to ask a question. Then you can unmute your mic and go ahead and pose your question to Dwight. So
but Sean, can we try to answer most of these questions though, as much as we could? I mean, I'm here for the guys and the girls. I don't have this opportunity very often, so it'd be nice if we could try to get you as quickly. I'll try to narrow my answers as well, so it doesn't drag on too long. So everybody try to get a question at least.
All right, guys. So you heard from Dwight himself. He's willing to take as much as questions as possible, and he's going to try to answer as much as possible. So let's go. First question for Dwight. Come on, don't be shy. You have him here with you at your disposal. So go ahead and ask him whatever comes to your mind in terms of his career and his pathway to success.
Sean, you want to ask me a question first, and then try to kickstart something with these guys.
Yeah, that's fine. Dwight, we noticed very early in your career, just after your career at Signal Hill, you had a chance to play at a Youth World Cup in 1990 Under-20 World Cup in Portugal. A lot of the kids in here, they're aspiring to qualify for a World Cup. They're in the Under-17 team, the Under-20 team. Tell us about that part of your career and what advice you will have for some of the boys here and the girls who are trying to qualify for a Youth World Cup.
Well, first to begin, I mean, that's a great honor and an achievement that is very hardly been mentioned. Not a lot of people know that Trinidad and Tobago ever got to an Under-20 World Cup. So being part of that group of players, which was a very talented group of players, and being the captain of that team as well, was a great honor. It's the ultimate when you represent your country. I think I wouldn't say I have taken representing my country for granted, but I recognize being patriotic, what it means, what you represent. And often enough, you can get lost in those transitions a little bit, knowing what you're representing when it comes to your national colors. So my experience at the Under-20 World Cup is recognizing that, yes, I'm here to represent Trinidad and Tobago, but it's not just Trinidad and Tobago. You're representing your family. You're representing every individual that is of Trinidad and Tobago citizenship. So, and around the Caribbean, because it's a big deal when a small country like us get to such high level i.e. some people don't even know where Trinidad and Tobago is. So when you come on the world stage, it's your moment to really show what we all about. And so that moment under Bertus Sinclair, I'm sure and everybody else who played in that under 20 World Cup was a great honor and a real privilege. How many people of Trinidad and Tobago, knowing all the talented people that we had in the past that tried to qualify for this competition, qualifying for the World Cup and not been able to do it. So it's a very big deal, and it was a big moment for us. But it just never got the recognition that it deserved at the time when we had qualified for the World Cup, and which is a bit of a shame. It's gone under the sort of radar, so to speak. So these kids now, it's their moment, and it's their time to make sure that they become and make history, the second team to try and qualify for the World Cup as well.
Very good. All right, Dwight. So we've got a few questions here. We have a question from one of the prolific goal scorers for our youth women's team, Brianna Smith. She's asking, what was your most memorable time representing Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, we talked about the under 20 World Cup. I've had some obviously a big deal, which again, these young kids won't know about, but that was a big deal for me at the very beginning. Then, of course, the under 20 World Cup, but the biggest of all, the ultimate, has to be the 2006 World Cup. I mean, the strike squad, I have to mention the strike squad. We had come, as you know, Sean, 1 point away from qualifying for that World Cup. So that was a heartbreaker. But after trying for so many years and being a part of so many great teams, that we finally been able to get it over the line in 2006. So my most memorable time in football, my most proudest moment in football has to be the 2006 World Cup in Germany.
And just before we go further, Dwight, one of the members in the chat room here now is your former captain, Clayton Morris. He's actually in the chat room here. So
okay. Yeah, yes, Clay. Brilliant.
Right.
Good to.
So I want to encourage.
That's my skipper. That's my skipper.
Very good. All right, I want to encourage you guys. Guys, go ahead and feel free to interact with Dwight. So you can unmute your mic and ask the questions. I'm seeing a question here from Ari Bagan. Ari, go ahead and ask Dwight your question. Unmute your mic and speak to him. Ari, you hearing us? Go ahead and ask a question if you want. I'm also seeing another question here from Jared Edmond. Jared, you can go ahead. Ari, I see you've unmuted your mic, so go ahead and ask your question.
How did you reach the Premier League level?
Oh, well, again, that's a long journey. As we talked about the progress that I've made as a young boy coming from Tobago, which I've, again, started through the Colleges League, really, and then sort of, having won that twice as a young player from the Colleges League, which was a big deal for us growing up in the Caribbean, and I'm sure it's still a big deal in Trinidad and Tobago playing the Intercol. Then my advance was rapidly. It was a very quick rise from Intercol to international football. I was representing Trinidad and Tobago at the age of 16. So, and I mean, that's a full squad, the big squad, so to speak, with Clayton, as we talked about it. So I was still a boy in school playing with men. So then after that, I think pretty much after the 89, when I talked about strike squad, when we failed by not qualifying, I already had the scouts looking, because that was, again, a huge thing in our country and around the world globally, that, this tiny country of Trinidad and Tobago was only 1 point, and we were playing, obviously, the mighty USA. And so that was a huge attraction. So for us, so there was lots of people looking and scouting at the time. So I was very lucky, and I was scouted. I was told back in the days. And then Aston Villa came here, and we played an international friendly. And so Graham Taylor was the manager, and then that's how I was spotted. And that's when I was given a chance to go to England on a 6 weeks trial with Calvin Hutchinson, my teammate from Tobago. And unfortunately, he didn't make the grade, although I thought he had done extremely well and deserved a chance. So I was the lucky one. I've done well there. I scored a few goals when I went on trial for the 6 weeks. And I got the call after Trinidad and Tobago didn't qualify for the World Cup. And I was pretty much on a plane going to England, just playing to play professional football. So my rise from intercol to the national senior team was one of those, rapid development that not too many people have been able to make that transition, and then straight into professional football in England. So that's how I got to England. But it was not because of just playing for Signal Hill and then for the national team. It was purely because of my sacrifices and hard work and my dedication. And of course, you got to be a little bit of luck. Aston Villa toured at the right time, and I was at the right age. So some of those things went in my favor. So all that adds up. And so, but the rest was pretty much history, and it was down to pretty much a lot of hard work.
Okay, very good. All right, next up, Ireel Daly, you want to go ahead and ask a question?
Good day. You hearing me?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Ireel Daly. I'm a goalkeeper for the U17 national team.
Yeah.
I aspire to win like many trophies in Europe. So my question to you would be, what was the key motivating factor in the treble season that Manchester United won?
Well, I mean, I joined again for some of the young boys and girls in the chat here might not know the history behind it, but before I got to Manchester United Football Club, I was already nearly 10 years at Aston Villa. So from the age of, 17 to the age of 26, I was at Aston Villa. And for me, that was a good moment because I was still young. I was still new to the professional world. I was learning the trade. I was developing. I was getting stronger. I'm always a quick learner. The fact that I was already playing international football allows me to get in there and try to figure out quickly what it takes to make sure, because I only was given a 2.5 year contract. So in those 2.5 years was vital. I needed to make progress because, as a young boy, they expect you to develop. And of course, I feel like if I was on the same wavelength as an English player, they would take the English player. So I had to be a little bit more exceptional. So I dedicated myself to do a lot more. I just didn't want to be on the same par because I feel if I was on the same par with these players, they were likely to get ahead of me. So it was important that I recognized that very early. And of course, my work ethic. I was a serial worker. I never stopped working. Even after training, I would go home and I would do extra work, even in the garden, doing keepy up. I was really obsessed with the football and I was really determined to make a difference because no one really, so to speak, in from the Caribbean as a whole, never really went to England and make it at this level. So I wanted to be the first and I wanted to be different. And I knew that with the work ethic through Bertie Sinclair, of course, who had implemented my work ethic from a very young age to work extremely hard and to work harder than others. So I take that into my preparation on top of all the work that I was doing with the coaches back in England. I was prepared to work a little bit harder. But yeah, I spent 10 years at Aston Villa. And then obviously each year I seems to get bigger, stronger, fitter, understanding, and playing regularly. And so my time to go to Man United was one that was very easy decision in the end because after 10 years at Aston Villa, even though I'd won things at Aston Villa and become the player of the year there, I feel that I wanted my football to go to another level. And so by joining Manchester United Football Club enabled me to do that. And I was very lucky. I I went at the club. I went to Man United at the right time, with the right team and the right players. So then the treble winning year become the focal point of my season there at Man United.
Very good, Dwight. We have a question from Josiah Wilson. He's the captain of the under-15 boys team. He's now on the under-17 team. Josiah, go ahead.
Hi, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Hi, Josiah.
I'm a left winger for the U17 team. My question is, how difficult or different it is to play away from home on that level?
Well, football is it's a confident thing. When you playing at home, everybody is expecting a great deal from you. You expect to win your games. But I don't think your approach should be any different. Yes, you're giving up the advantage of being away from home, but your approach shouldn't be any different. Your mindset shouldn't be too much of a different. So that was my thought. It's a game of football. If you go there thinking that you're going to fear the opposition, I think you should always respect the opposition. I don't think you should fear them that much, because I certainly didn't. I respect the players. I respect my fellow peers, but I didn't fear them. And I think that was the difference. And of course, when you're playing at home, some teams do perform better away from home than being at home. So when you play at home, sometimes the expectation can be a little bit daunting for some players, and some players find it much easier playing away from home. It didn't really occur to me, because at the end of the day, it was a game of football that I love, and I feel that I belong in this arena, whether it was home and away. And of course, they were going to be challenging. That's where you're going to find your character, because when you're playing at home, it should be easier. So some people say. And when you go away, you really find how tough you are and how good you are playing away from home. So the challenge can be different for different players. I didn't really have a problem with it, but I think your mindset is something that you need to focus on. And then if you go in with the game with the right preparation and the right mentality, then I don't think it should be much different for you as an individual, because it certainly wasn't for me.
But Dwight, if I could just interrupt here. Dwight, we're watching the time, so we will go out and come back in, because the kids are loving the questions, they're loving our answers. So we will go out and come back in when the time elapses.
Okay.
All right.
We can probably take one more question, Sean. Yeah.
All right. VJ Sinat, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Dwight. First, here from the UK, playing England. Just want to say, pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, VJ.
We're not hearing you. Your audio is out.
Yeah. What was sort of your unique sort of thing that made you stand out from the crowd as a player?
Yeah, listen. The uniqueness about you as an individual, it's about the way how you play the game. I mean, I play the game because I love the game, and the fun. When you're playing sport, you want to enjoy what you do. I enjoy playing football. This was my way of my way of expressing probably my happiest moment as an individual, because playing football is something that I love doing and entertaining, let alone getting paid for it. I think getting for it was, probably in the background, but for me, the most important thing was enjoying what I do. I enjoy doing what I did for a living. I did it because of the pure love and the enjoyment I got from it. And of course, it's an additional bonus getting paid for what I did.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, you ask any sportsman or woman out there, doing something that you totally love and getting paid for it is the ultimate. Yeah, it's the ultimate. But you have to have the love and joy and the passion and the dedication for the sport. And I can say this out loudly to every individual who are listening here. Please put the financial side away. Put that behind you, because I do believe strongly, if you work hard and you dedicate and you focus, you will get your reward again. You know, the financial things will come, all the material stuff will come afterwards, because if you're successful, you will get all those things come with it. That's the key. And often enough, I'm afraid what I'm seeing on a regular basis, people want the success early. And sometimes you just got to put that aside and just focus on improving your game and dedicating yourself to the sport. And then the rest will follow. And that's what I did. And I'm sure if you talk to most of the successful people around, that's what they did. They focus on the material and the cash, or so to speak, the rewards at the end of it, because you've got to do your job first and you've got to do it well to get your reward, not get the reward first and then, you know, do your job afterwards. You've got to do your job first and do it pretty good, and then the reward come after. So that would be my advice to everybody who's listening on this.
I can definitely relate to that. Passionate about
so we're gonna get Dwight is gonna kick us out in less than a minute. So we're gonna go